Welcome to the Retzel Health Law Hotspot. Health Law Hotspot is a podcast for physicians and health professionals that covers the legal issues and trends that affect the healthcare industry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Health Law Hotspot. Today, we have a great topic. We're going to be talking about how to effectively market your medical and dental practice while still taking into account some of the legal requirements that are out there for healthcare providers. We have great guests today, so I'm going to go around and make some introductions. First, I'm Erica Adler, shareholder at Retzel and Andrus, head of the healthcare group. And joining me is my partner, David Hockman, also a shareholder and part of the Health Law Group at Retzel and Andrus, as well as the partner in charge of our Chicago office. And our very special guest today is JJ Abbott from Premier Creative. And JJ is the founder and owner of Premier Creative, a digital web agency based in Millburn, New Jersey. 28 years have gone by while they've been working extensively with medical practices and dental as well, seeking to drive new patients and revenue growth in a wide variety of specialty areas, everything from dermatology, spine surgery, plastics, gastro, neurosurgery, FDA trials, and other areas as well. So quite the long list there. We're really excited to have JJ here. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me.
And this is going to be a great topic because one of the things that our healthcare clients really worry about and wonder about is how can I really put myself out there? How can I drive new clients to the practice, new patients to the practice? How can I have better visibility out in the marketplace when people are looking for practitioners? Why do they find my competitor and not find me? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And I know a lot of our clients out there don't like to spend money on things like a website because they think maybe it doesn't work. But I think what I'd really like to hear is from somebody who's a pro at this and can kind of tell us a little bit about whether marketing through the use of websites is still worthwhile, whether the cost is worthwhile, and whether our clients can really get some new business in the door if they kind of pursue a better website.
Yeah, sure. I think those are some great questions. Certainly we'll try and cover as much of that as we can today. I think now more than ever, actually, your website and your web marketing is absolutely paramount, especially if you're a physician, but across all industries. You know, unfortunately, COVID's it's been a terrible global pandemic, but what it's really done is accelerated user adoption. So even people who were what we may call troglodytes, right? They're now using the web far more often, and people who were maybe only using the web for maybe 2-3 different types of services now are really embrace that process. And so for physicians, because there's so many options that people can choose from or select, it's really important that you rank well in search engines. And by search engines, I mean like Google or Bing, Yahoo. There's a lot of other smaller ones, but really it's become so important because even if people are referred to you or they know you, it's really the first place that consumers are going to when they want to learn about a practice or they want to learn about a specific doctor, or they don't have a physician or a dentist, and they're looking for a new provider essentially.
All right. So what makes one website stand out against another then? I mean, what are some people doing right and some people doing wrong?
Yeah, well, I think there's two factors. It's sort of, two components. One component is the mousetrap itself. What does your website look like? What is the presentation? How clear is it? The content? All of that's critical. But in order to get people to your website, you need to drive them there. And that's really where search engine optimization comes into play, which is where you can rank organically for any kind of keyword search that you might do, say in Google or Bing. For example, I might type in best plastic surgeon, Highland Park, Illinois, just for example, because I know you guys are in Chicago.
All right. And so I guess everybody doesn't show up. So is it kind of how you're putting those keywords in there that make you show up or not show up, or where you show up?
So there's two factors. One is the content that is on your site, right? And for lack of maybe a better explanation, let's say about 10% of your ability to rank in a search engine is the actual content on your website. So Google has many different factors that they look at, like technical things that, like your URL structure, your title tag, your headers, the copy. All of those things are very important. And then the other 90%, or the part that really comes into play, is what are called backlinks. And backlinks are essentially hyperlinks from third-party websites that point to your website or point to other websites, which then point to you. And so essentially, it's sort of like the way you rank well is both on the content that you have, as well as your relationship to other websites that are out in the net.
Yeah. JJ, what about I know Google has programs where you can pay to get your where you appear higher up.
Yes.
And there are ways in doing it that somebody who's looking on doesn't realize you got to the head of the line because you paid for it.
Yes. Yeah. So there's two types of advertising. One is the paid system that you're referencing, or what's called pay-per-click. And that's a huge industry. That's like a $138 billion industry. That's essentially a pay for performance platform. So you're bidding, you have a set budget on a monthly basis. Let's say, for example, you spend $5,000 a month. Google divides that by 30 days in the month. And then that's the amount you have to spend each day. And as long as you have ads that you can have them, you bid on those positions, sort of like a stock market. And if someone clicks on your ad, then Google deducts the cost of that click from your monthly budget. Now, pay-per-click's a very good tool, but the problem is that you really only get, maybe depending on the research you read, anywhere from about 6 to maybe 10% of all the clicks that occur on a page. And it's the other, 90+% that's in the organic listings, what's called search engine optimization. And so there are some people, many people do click on the pay-per-click ads, but more often than not, most people click on the organic. And the reason why is because organic is objective, or at least we believe it's objective, that Google knows best. When I type in a question into the search bar, that the answer I get, which lists from 1 to 10, and then page 2, page 3, page 4, that's the correct answer that I'm looking for. Whereas the pay-per-click ad is someone's pushing their information to me.
Right.
And so, the bulk of the clicks really occur in the SEO, in that organic part. And that's really where, as a physician, that you really want to be, because when you rank well there, you're just getting so much more visibility. And of course, with pay-per-click, you have a set budget. So if, for example, your budget's $50 a day, and if all your clicks happen, say, by 1 p.m, then from 1:01 till the end of the day, they're not seeing your ads.
So how do you get good SEO then?
Right.
I assume that, just like we have legal expertise, people like you know what the ingredient is for the good SEO, right?
Yes.
And how do you know when they change their criteria?
Yeah, so all of those are great questions. So first of all, we have a lot of experience in doing SEO. It's not something that you can really DIY yourself. There are a few people out there who've done that, but we actually have a specific methodology that we've developed in order to create, the quality backlinks that you need. So a large part of the work we do is actually we're writing and creating content on many different platforms, content that's relevant to our client about the services they provide, the names of the physicians, the names of the practice. And so we're writing that content on third-party websites to build, authoritative backlinks. And essentially, in order to rank well, for your site to rank well, you need to have a high quality of link, a link that's relevant from a third-party site, as well as the quality of that content, because Google's looking at all of these factors within their, secret sauce in order to evaluate the quality of your individual pages of your website, as well as your website as a whole. The other thing is geography is very important, right? So if you are, say, if you're an oral surgeon or a general dentist and you operate, say, in Nashville, Tennessee, right? You want to rank locally. So with the content that's created both on your site and off site, you're going to want to indicate the geography that you're essentially trying to target. As to your second question, David, that you had, hopefully that answered the first one, Erica, that you had. Nobody knows the secret formula to Google, right? And in fact, even Google says they don't know the secret formula because they're constantly adding to it. And so what I often try and explain to clients is, I've heard that the recipe to Coca-Cola, allegedly, there's like 7 people in the world who know it, right? So what we can do is, we can't make Coca-Cola here at my company, but we can make something that looks, tastes, smells, sounds like essentially Coca-Cola. And that's what we're doing with Google. We're very gently following, they have specific rules and guidelines of what's acceptable. And we're slowly, sort of like a drop of water, almost on a daily basis, we're creating this content and backlinks so that we can build our clients' website and their individual pages higher and higher and higher so that they rank for more and more terms.
So, well, let me just ask a quick question. I was going to say, like, if, everybody's thinking, oh yeah, but that costs like a fortune, right? So what do you see in terms of people come, they spend the money at Premier Creative, and then do they get a return on their investment? Like, is this worth it for doctors, dentists, whatever, to really spend the money on, or should they keep doing what they're doing? Like, is that a good, place to target their funds?
Yeah, so first things first, because I think everyone wants to know, the ROAS, the return on your advertising spend, is very powerful. We typically see clients generating anywhere from like a 10 to 20x. So if their budget, is say something modest like $20,000 a year, typical client's going to see a few $100,000 in gross revenues. It depends also on the type of practice. So for example, some practices need volume of work, in which case, their gross profit may not be as high. And for our elective clients, like those who do surgeries, whether it's in network or out of network, that's where it becomes extremely lucrative, because the true gross profit is, other than maybe the surgeon paying for their assistant, most of that money is technically theirs. I mean, they have overhead, but essentially, yes. I mean, for example, we have clients that are that do dental implants, right? More often than not, people who have implants usually have not taken good care of their mouth, and they have many problems, more than just implants. I have one dentist client, an average patient could be anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. Now, they don't do all that work at once. It's spread out, payment plans and so forth. But, spine surgeon, vein, I mean, there's a lot of money to be had, especially in elective.
Right.
So let me ask you about elective surgery. So there's plastic surgeons, they get their referrals from, or they get patients from word of mouth. The patient himself comes to the doctor. What about those specialties where the referral comes from another physician?
Yeah.
A general surgeon, what can they do? How does this work for them?
Yeah. So first of all, in any business, whether you're a doctor or you're a plumber or you plan weddings, any good business, I would say, in my 28 years of experience, 80 to 90% of all your business comes from referrals. And even in your business as lawyers, I'm sure you'd probably agree, right?
Yeah.
The reason why clients retain our services or use web marketing agency is because there's that 10 to 15 or 20% that they can't capture. those are the people who've never heard of your brand, or they don't know your practice, or they don't know your name. And so I'm not so worried about the 80% of your business. What we're trying to do is we're trying to open the market to a component that you don't have. Essentially, for lack of a better description, the pizza pie is 16 inches, and your business card on that pie is a very small piece. And so what clients want us to do is they want us to make that business card much larger. So for a general surgeon, what they're going to want to do, just to go back to your specific example, they're going to want to rank for the specific types of surgeries or procedures that they offer, right? So if they, again, I sort of thinking on the spot, I don't know specifically what time maybe a general surgeon does. I don't know. I guess they could
like
do
an
any
appendix,
And
appendectomy.
Yeah, right.
Gallbladder.
Right. Yeah. So what they're going to want to rank for are those types of specific keywords relative to surgery, and then they're going to want to rank in their geographic area. And the other thing that I would say, I know you mentioned plastic surgeons, but everybody uses search. It doesn't matter if you're on Medicare or Medicaid. It doesn't matter if you're extremely wealthy or you're blue collar, whatever classification. We have clients who get referrals at all levels. I'm sorry, not referrals, who get leads from the web at all levels. Now, some clients, because we have plastic surgeon clients, patients will not be forthcoming. They will say, "Oh, a friend told us about you," because there's some sort of negativity in saying, "Oh, well, I've never met you. I don't know your work, but I Googled you and you actually ranked third, and your website looked nicer than the other two, and you look like an attractive person. And I looked at the work and it looked really good. And your office is 5 minutes from where I work. So but they don't tell they'll tell the doctor. So at the end of the day, the most important thing is how you can drive more traffic, and specifically not just any traffic. It has to be quality traffic, right? Because then it's just about statistical probability. If I know that 100 people can come to your website, and your business, you convert, let's say, I don't know, 3 out of 4 patients, right? We know you're going to do well, because the percent of the people who find you, the percent will then call you and then schedule an appointment, and then a percentage of those will hopefully need some sort of medical treatment, whatever that might be.
Well, just so let's talk about then you have the website, and I was talking with a client the other day who does lots of videos on his website. And we were talking about that. And, David and I were lawyers. So what we guide our clients on is a little bit more of, okay, you've got the website, but is it legal? Right? So some of the things that we talk about are how they're presenting their expertise. For example, like in Illinois, you can't call yourself an expert, right? So how do you phrase that? Making sure they're HIPAA compliant. So they're collecting information on their website. They're using testimonials of patients. We want to make sure they're not, saying the name of the patient unless they got a waiver in writing, etc. But one of the newest, hottest things, and we're doing the podcast here ourselves, right, is that certain physicians, and this one client I was talking to, really does a tremendous volume of podcasts and does amazingly well in terms of the hits he gets and the following he has. And so I'm really kind of curious, is it enough to just have a website, and how important is that content piece? Because really then, what we want to do, David and I, is really be talking to our clients about, hey, you should do the content, but be careful, what that content is for legal reasons. So, how involved do you get in terms of helping with the content like that? And are you warning your clients about some of these legal issues, or at least telling them talk to their lawyers?
Yeah. So for almost all of our clients, they're engaging us to do the actual copywriting. So we are writing the content that you'll see on their websites. And the reason why is because our expertise is not as surgeons, right? Like, I know a lot now about brain surgery. I know a lot about spine surgery, all different things I've never studied, okay? But what I do know, and what we're very good at, is writing content that has a very marketing and sales bent to it, right? Because at the end of the day, the website is a presentation tool. It's to create confidence, trust, and build a connection with the viewer. So the content's very, very critical to that process. And everything that we're writing has to be vetted by a client. So we'll write the content and then provide it to the client. And in almost all cases, they're making edits to it, right? Because obviously they have a specific way that they want to speak, or there's specific terminology that maybe they want to say differently or in a little variation. And then often, especially in the real like high tech or, really nuanced cases, they will run that by their attorneys to make sure they're not saying anything. For example, they're not going to say you get a free MRI review, right? Like that's you should be very careful.
Or even discounts are.
Yeah, they're very careful about the language.
Or insurance only.
We wait.
Yeah, the insurance policy where, there's like, we don't write that part. That's more,
right.
The practice administrator has very specific language about, PPO, out of pocket, Medicare, Medicaid, all of that we're not touching. We're only touching the part that is the marketing sales component. And then the reason we're doing that is because not only can we do it better, right? That's our core competency, but we also understand for search engine optimization, things like keyword density, keyword proximity, keyword relevance, right? Now, those factors are not, like hardcore numbers. It's not like I need 3% of this and 4%. But Google has become so smart, right? Because they have linguists, people with PhD. It's not just computer science. They have linguists on staff. And so they look at language construction, and the content really needs to be relevant. For example, I can't say like, for the best dermatologist in, Milburn, New Jersey, if you're looking for a dermatologist who's better than all other dermatologists because we went to the best dermatology school, right? Like, you can't say stuff like that. 15 years ago, you could get away with murder, right? Sorry, not murder, but now it has to be high quality content, and Google's actually looking at that content with their algorithms, and that's part of the ranking process. So, for example, a page that has 100 words is not as interesting to a Google algorithm as a page with 300 or 1,000 words, right? So it's not just the quality, but quantity also comes into play.
All right. So what about those video podcasts? Like, do you guys get involved with that, and how does that fit in?
Yeah, so I love video. We shoot a lot of videos for physicians because it's about transparency, right? So one of the problems with the medical field, or not problems, one of the challenges is I can't meet the doctor until I've filled out forms, I've paid a fee, and I go and sit in a waiting room. That's when I first get, or not waiting room, but in the patient room. That's the first time I get to meet the doctor. So I don't have a sense of what's their personality like. Do they have a warmth? How knowledgeable are they? Are they young? Are they old? Are they experienced? All these factors, right? So video is really tremendous because here's my one opportunity to actually meet and hear from the physician. And for a lot of people, that's a big win. It's a big win because, historically, that's a challenge, I think, for physicians is, you don't know what you're getting. It's sort of like a fruit cocktail, you sort of have to open up, you get what you get,
So JJ, if we get more and more technology, we'll have everybody from age 20 to 80 or 90 is going to be able to use a computer. But today it seems like we're sort of in a transition period where you have the more quote unquote mature patients don't necessarily have a lot of computer skills. So while having an internet website and having digital access and social media is good for your younger patients, what could somebody who's got a substantial Medicare age practice be doing that maybe would be helpful in generating referrals from those or patients from those that age group?
Yeah, well, one of the fastest growth segments is like 55 plus, like I said, when we first started this talk, COVID, a terrible global pandemic, but at the same time, it's accelerated technology across all ages, all races, locations, everything, because so many of us have been forced to stay at home. So that area of the market is really growing very quickly. And so I would say to your clients who have those octogenarians or older clientele, now more than ever you need to be on the web, because that's really how they're finding them, right? Like if they're in a community, they're not able to go out and see their friends or talk to their friends. The internet has become so much more important. And to be honest, most people have smartphones, or a very, very large demographic have smartphones, which is just growing at an accelerated rate. So even if you don't have a physical computer, smartphone's pretty important at this day and age in terms of business. I mean, not every case holds true, right? Like I can't give you a specific example for each and every one. It's sort of nuanced by industry and by practice. But I would say that it's not possible to, I mean, if you're not doing something on the web, I would strongly suggest that become a new part of your 2021 agenda, because if not, you're just giving away market share. The general residing rule of thumb that we tell clients is, if you're not visible, you're not viable, right? If they can't find you, they can't buy from you, but they're buying from your competitors, i.e. what they do find. So not being part of this, Google game is really, it's not a good idea, because you may not realize you're losing market share, but there are people who are taking it from you every day, because that's where people are looking to find your service or product or your practice.
Right. Well, I think that's great advice. And David and I recently interviewed somebody who was talking about within the practice things they should be doing. We're at the beginning of 2021. We want to make this a great year, especially for practices that didn't do great last year because of COVID. So, I think what we're trying to say here is there are some other things to consider what you should be doing in 2021. Drive patients to your practice, increase the volume, maybe the different types of patients you're taking, the complexity of cases, and your overall visibility. I mean, these are all things you need to do now to compete, really, and to stay alive in 2021. Well, thank you so much, JJ, for joining us. And we hope you'll come back in the future, because I know this is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the advice that our doctors and dentists and other healthcare providers should be listening to in order to really grow their practice and to be as successful as possible. David, any final words from you?
No, I thought this was really interesting, JJ. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
And this is an area that's changing every week, and it's important. It's hard to keep up, but it's important to keep up.
Yeah.
Yep. Any last words from you? By the way, David knows how to use a computer and a smartphone. JJ,
no doubt.
I know people who do not have a smartphone and do not have a computer, and they just are, if they could be Luddites, they would be. They used to never, and they're 75 or 80. That's why I asked the question.
That's not even that old though, 75, 80. I mean, come on.
I understand that, but they're thinking,
right.
The technology has passed them by, and they just don't feel able to go and keep up.
Yeah.
And so for them, how they find physicians is they call up one of their relatives who probably goes online and does a Google search.
Yeah, that's funny, because my in-laws and my parents probably, I'm in the industry, and they're very sharp. They're on apps that I haven't even heard about, and everyone's different.
Yeah, truly.
Absolutely.
I mean, my parents don't even call anymore. They just FaceTime now. There's no going back once you started, right? Well, thank you guys so much for being here. And hopefully, JJ, we'll see you again soon.
That'd be great. Thanks a lot, and have a good day, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. You too.
The Retzel Health Law Hotspot is made available by the firm and its attorneys for educational purposes and to provide general information, not to provide specific legal advice. Use of the Retzel Health Law Hotspot does not create an attorney-client relationship between you and the firm or any of its attorneys. The Retzel Health Law Hotspot should not be used as a substitute for competent legal advice, and you should contact an attorney in your state about any legal needs or questions you may have.